Hello guys, Justin here, and this is a book review and summary of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This book is a philosophy of success, and it was inspired by the suggestion of Andrew Carnegie, the steel businessman, who suggested that the author interviewed a lot of successful people to learn about the secret of success. Think and Grow Rich was published in 1937, and a lot of the examples it uses is from that time period. However, a lot of the people they use for examples are people who are well known today. Names like Andrew Carnegie, John Rockefeller, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Abraham Lincoln, Mahatma Gandhi are all used in the book, but they are all as well known today as they were in 1937. Additionally, it is also important to remember that in 1937, the United States, as well as the rest of the world, had just gone through the Great Depression, so money was on top of everybody's mind. So even though the title of the book is Think and Grow Rich, the philosophy of success can be applied to any field. And a lot of the examples the book uses are of people who are successful in fields outside of just making money. Think and Grow Rich is not a how-to manual or a list of instructions on how to get rich. It's a philosophy of success that focuses on the mind. And the premise of the book is that thoughts are things, and they are very powerful things that can be harnessed in order to achieve success. Before we get into the 13 steps of success that make up 13 of the 15 chapters of the book, the author in chapter 1 emphasizes that the reader must have a definite purpose. And that is very important, and my analogy for that is that it doesn't matter how talented a pilot is. If he doesn't know where he is going, he's going to fail. Likewise, it doesn't matter how talented, intelligent, or driven you are. If you don't know what you want to achieve, you're not going to achieve it, because anything worth achieving requires concentrated effort and power of will, and you must know your goal before you set out to achieve it. The first step to riches is desire. Not just any desire, but a burning desire. A desire that the author calls a consuming obsession. And this desire must be for something definite. It must have a definite plan and a definite date by which time you have turned your desire into a reality. And that is very important because it forces you to take concrete action to turn your desire into a reality. And it is the motivating force of desire that will push you to do whatever it takes to get your goal accomplished and to bounce back from whatever setbacks that you would encounter on your journey to achieve your purpose. The second step to riches is faith. Faith is a belief in the attainment of your desire, and that belief is essential to success, because if you don't believe you will actually attain what you set out to accomplish, you will quit. And in addition to that, the author believes in a transcendental source of ideas and imagination called infinite intelligence, and in the chapter on faith, he introduces that concept. He talks about how faith allows you to communicate with infinite intelligence and receive ideas and hunches and creative solutions to whatever you set out to accomplish. Mixing faith with thought is powerful, and it allows you to turn your desires into a reality. He who thinks he can and he who thinks he cannot are both usually right. The third step to riches is autosuggestion. Autosuggestion is the act of feeding your mind thoughts that are beneficial to achieving your goal. The author prescribes a technique for which the reader should use in order to practice the power of autosuggestion. He says that the reader should write a statement with his goal, how he will achieve his goal, and the deadline for which he will achieve his goal by. And he should read that statement morning and night, once after he wakes up and once before he goes to sleep. And he should put that statement somewhere where he can see it when he wakes up and when he goes to sleep until he has memorized that statement. And this is very powerful because autosuggestion influences the subconscious mind, and it boosts the desire of the person, and it maintains faith. And because it's so ingrained in the subconscious mind that the person using autosuggestion will come up with solutions to obstacles he faces when he's trying to achieve his goals. The fourth step to riches is specialized knowledge. Specialized knowledge is knowledge required to achieve your goal. The author contrasts this with general knowledge, which he finds irrelevant to achieving your goal. If you have a definite purpose, then acquire the knowledge necessary to achieve your goal. All other knowledge is useless in achieving your goal. The fifth step to riches is imagination. The power of imagination was particularly obvious to people in 1937. In only 100 years, the world had changed so much. In the early 1800s, most people were farmers. They mostly made their own things. They wrote letters for communication, and they rode horses for transportation. And they suffered from diseases that people did not know how to treat. In the early 1900s, airplanes have been invented, cars have been invented, telephones, radios, telegraphs, steamships, light bulbs, trains, vaccines have all been invented, and life was very different from the 1800s. And this was the result of the imagination of inventors, and people were very aware of that. The author uses many examples from the book of inventors like Thomas Edison who used imagination to change the world they lived in. In addition to that, the author talks about two forms of imagination: creative imagination and synthetic imagination. Synthetic imagination is combining concepts the person already knows in order to create something new. Creative imagination comes from what the author calls infinite intelligence, where the person receives hunches and inspirations from a transcendental source, and that allows him to create new things without using anything that people have thought of before. Imagination is very powerful because it allows you to create the plans and solutions to achieve your goals, and it is what creates your desires and purpose in the first place. The sixth step to riches is organized planning. The chapter on organized planning is the longest in the book, and it contains practical instructions for the ambitious. The first of these instructions is to ally yourself with a group of like-minded individuals, because the achievement of any goal worth achieving is almost impossible to do by yourself. You need to cooperate with others in order to achieve your greatest potential. The author spends much of the rest of the chapter on organized planning, talking about how to best market your personal services. He first talks about leadership, what makes a good leader and what makes a bad leader. He then gives practical instructions to apply to jobs in the 1930s, but most of these instructions are irrelevant to the modern reader. He then talks about the QQS concept, which stands for quality, quantity, and spirit of service. Quality and quantity are pretty self-explanatory. Spirit is how enthusiastic you are when you come to work, and how pleasant and harmonious you are when you interact with the people you work with. The author ends the chapter talking about the common causes of failure and the concept that you cannot get without first giving if you want to succeed. The seventh step to riches is decision. Being decisive allows you to avoid procrastination, which is the enemy to anyone who wants to get something done. Being decisive means making decisions quickly, to follow promptly through action, and to only change your decisions slowly. The power of decisiveness is illustrated in this chapter with the Founding Fathers, who all signed the Declaration of Independence, committing themselves to win independence for the 13 colonies. If they failed, they would die. But they committed themselves to that decision and triumphed over the mighty British Empire. The eighth step to riches is persistence. Persistence is an absolute necessity for great success, because anything worth achieving will have potential setbacks and obstacles along the way. Persistence is what separates those who overcome and win from those who quit and lose. The ninth step to riches is the power of the mastermind. The author defines the mastermind as coordination of knowledge and effort in the spirit of harmony between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. That is essential because the achievement of any great goal requires coordination and cooperation between multiple people. The author also introduces the three major sources of knowledge, which are infinite intelligence, which is the transcendental source, accumulated experience, and experiment and research. The 10th step to riches is the mystery of sex transmutation. The author talks about how sex desire is the most powerful of human desires, and when transmuted from its physical expression and directed along other lines, it can be harnessed to achieve great things. The author claims that men seldom succeed before 40 because they dissipate their sexual energy in the overindulgence of the physical expression of the emotion of sex. The author says that as men grow older and develop self-control, they sometimes discover the power of channeling their sexual energy to drive them to achieve their goals. The author also adds that the emotion of sex mixed with love and romance brings calmness of purpose, poise, accuracy of judgment, and balance, and will temper sexual energy with sanity, balance, and reason. The author states that the emotions of love, sex, and romance are sides of the eternal triangle of achievement, building genius, and it brings one into communion with infinite intelligence. The 11th step to riches is the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is responsible for influencing our thoughts, emotions, and intuitions, and we should be careful with what we feed it. We should feed it with thoughts that are beneficial to achieving our goals. Thoughts such as self-affirmations and visualizations of our goals and how we will achieve them. Additionally, we should feed our subconscious mind with positive emotions and avoid negative emotions. We should surround ourselves with positive people and positive impulses and avoid negative people and negative impulses. The 12th step to riches is the brain. This chapter is about the author's theory of telepathy, where he believes the brain broadcasts and receives thoughts with other brains and with infinite intelligence. He believes that priming your brain for success means that you'll be able to communicate with other successful people and infinite intelligence through telepathy. I am personally skeptical about this chapter. The 13th step to riches is the sixth sense. According to the author, the sixth sense defies description. However, it is essentially the portion of the subconscious mind responsible for creative imagination. Once the other 12 steps have been mastered, the sixth sense will become an instinct that would naturally direct you towards success through communion with infinite intelligence. It is both mental and spiritual in nature and cannot be described, but once all the steps have been mastered, it will kick you in and make you a naturally successful person. Napoleon Hill concludes Think and Grow Rich by discussing how we can overcome the 6 ghosts of fear. In order to prepare our hearts and minds for success, we have to overcome fear. And these 6 fears are fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, fear of loss of love, fear of old age, and fear of death. By understanding these fears, we can focus on what we can control and accept what we cannot. In conclusion, Napoleon Hill writes, "Your mind is your spiritual estate. Protect and use it with the care to which divine royalty is entitled. You were given a willpower for this purpose." I very much enjoyed reading Think and Grow Rich and found it a very helpful philosophy of success. Even though I don't agree with everything in the book, I think most of it is very insightful. I think the concentration of thought, desire, and persistent effort is essential for any great undertaking. I also think the book really teaches people how to harness their mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual resources in order to turn their dreams into reality. If you would like to read this book yourself, there's an Amazon link in the description. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on the bell notifications, and I'll see you next time.